People were saying, hey, this could be Caitlin Clark's fault. And before I just flipped and lost my mind, I had to sit and think about it. And you know what, Caitlin Clark, this is all happening and it's your fault. You're the reason, your greatness, your star power, you are the reason for there being no 2026 WNBA season as of now. Because had you not been such a great player and a big star, these women wouldn't be demanding all of the stuff that they're demanding right now. So yeah, I guess
this is where Rachel Dida's observation becomes critical. Because beyond ratings and revenue, the league made a massive cultural miscalculation. The new fans, the Caitlin Clark fans, were treated with hostility almost immediately. Instead of being welcomed, many were accused of bad faith, labeled racist, dismissed as not real fans. In some cases, investigated by the league itself for online behavior that later proved exaggerated or unfounded. From a business perspective, this is insanity. You don't interrogate your customers. You don't accuse them for showing up. You don't demand ideological purity from people who just want to watch basketball. Booing players is normal. It happens in every sport. Kelsey Mitchell getting booed after leaving Indiana? Normal. Players getting booed after demanding trades? Normal. But in the WNBA, these behaviors were treated like moral failures rather than fan engagement. There's an unspoken expectation in the league that fans should be grateful just to be allowed in the building, that they shouldn't criticize, shouldn't boo, and definitely shouldn't have favorites that disrupt internal narratives. That expectation pushed casual fans away. And once they left, they didn't come back.
We are clearly moving toward a lockout. The WNBA owners are not playing games anymore with these players. They have had enough of the foolishness. They've had enough of the nonsense. And they have basically left their text messages on red, and the WNBPA is spazzing out, losing their mind. Now, I truly believe that if it was not for Caitlin Clark, for one, they would not be having all of these demands. I really don't believe so. We saw the ratings in the WNBA tank in left field.
When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA in April 2024, she didn't just arrive as another highly drafted rookie. She arrived as a cultural event. Her game didn't merely translate, it detonated. And with her came something the league had been chasing for decades. Millions of eyeballs that weren't already invested. The impact was immediate and measurable. The Indiana Fever, a franchise that had been playing in front of sparse crowds, suddenly became must-see television. Games that once struggled to fill sections were now selling out. Entire arenas were packed with fans wearing Clark jerseys, many of whom were watching their very first WNBA game. Road games told an even bigger story. When the Fever traveled to Dallas, the Wings didn't just expect a bigger crowd. They moved the game to the American Airlines Center, the home of the Dallas Mavericks. Chicago did the same thing. Angel Reese didn't get to play at the United Center regularly, only when Caitlin Clark came to town. That alone should tell you everything you need to know about demand. Television numbers backed it up. Fever games featuring Clark routinely averaged over 1.5 million viewers. For context, most WNBA games before 2024 struggled to cross 500,000. The Fever's playoff matchup against the Connecticut Sun in September drew over 3 million viewers on ESPN, making it the most-watched WNBA playoff game in more than 2 decades. This wasn't incremental growth. It was explosive. But here's where people misunderstand what those numbers actually mean. Those viewers didn't suddenly become lifelong fans of every team, every player, and every storyline. They tuned in for one reason: Caitlin Clark, her shooting range, her swagger, her rivalry narratives, her ability to feel different from anything the league had marketed before. And that distinction matters. Because while the league celebrated these numbers publicly, internally, they created a dangerous illusion. A belief that the WNBA had finally crossed into mainstream sustainability. That the audience had arrived and would stay no matter what. That assumption would soon be tested, and it wouldn't hold up.
And again, I must preface my comments by saying this. This is not me saying you ladies can't play, but this is me saying a lot of people don't care about y'all playing. And that's just the fact of the matter. You guys have slammed fans, but you're trying to capitalize off those same fans that you have slammed and taken shots at nonstop. And the fact of the matter is, y'all call Caitlin Clark fans racist. Y'all have had investigations started. You guys have done everything in your power to push people away.
Now we arrive at the breaking point. The Players Association is negotiating based on 2024 revenue growth. They want higher salaries, charter flights, luxury accommodations, guaranteed contracts, and more control over marketing rights. On principle, those demands are reasonable if the money supports them. But owners are looking at the same charts everyone else can see. Without Caitlin Clark, ratings drop 60 to 70%. Attendance falls. Engagement disappears. Unrivaled failed to prove sustainability beyond one superstar. So the owner's position is brutally simple. We'll pay you based on what the league actually draws, not what one generational player drew during a perfect storm year. And that's why negotiations are deadlocked. This isn't Caitlin Clark's fault, but she is the mirror that forced everyone to confront reality. The league didn't suddenly become mainstream. It borrowed mainstream attention and then pushed it away. And now the bill has come due.
This is the last thing. I promise this is the last thing, and I'm going to let you guys go. The new fans have been pushed away from the jump. The new fans have been called names. There have been investigations on them. They have been shunned by WNBA media. They have been shunned from WNBA players. There has been so much regarding this new fans that are just so toxic. Like, we talked about it a few weeks ago on Sue Bird's podcast when Katie Nolan was going on and on about the new fans. Like, the new fans have been pushed away. There has been such a pushback on these new fans. However, the new fans are the reason that the players have the leverage that they do. The new fans are the reason that the Indiana Fever has to move their games from.
Lately, a strange narrative has started circulating online that Caitlin Clark is somehow responsible for the possibility that the WNBA might not even have a 2026 season. At first glance, that sounds ridiculous, almost insulting. How could one player be blamed for a labor dispute between billion-dollar owners and a players' union? But here's the uncomfortable truth. The people pushing this narrative might actually be onto something, just not in the way they think. What we're witnessing right now isn't the failure of a player. It's the exposure of a system that was already fragile long before Caitlin Clark ever stepped onto a WNBA court. One transcendent talent didn't break the league. She revealed just how unstable its foundation already was. Let's start with the facts. The WNBA and the WNBA Players Association are currently locked in collective bargaining negotiations that have completely collapsed. These talks aren't tense, they're radioactive. We're talking about the real possibility of a lockout. No games, no season, no WNBA basketball in 2026. And the timing here is not random. The reason these negotiations are happening with this level of aggression, urgency, and risk is directly tied to what happened in 2024. That was the year Caitlin Clark entered the league and fundamentally altered its visibility overnight. For the first time in decades, the WNBA wasn't begging for attention. It had it. National attention, corporate attention, media attention, and most importantly, casual fans who had never watched women's professional basketball before. That sudden surge created a perception of growth. Players saw packed arenas, record-breaking TV numbers, and unprecedented coverage. And naturally, they asked the most logical question possible. If the league is finally making real money, why aren't we seeing it? From the player's perspective, this was the moment to strike. Years of underpayment, commercial travel, minimal marketing support, and unstable contracts suddenly felt indefensible. If the league had truly arrived, then compensation and working conditions should reflect that. But here's the problem. Perception and reality are not always the same thing. The league's newfound momentum wasn't organic, evenly distributed growth. It wasn't the result of a slow-building, sustainable fan base across teams and stars. It was concentrated, intensely concentrated. And that distinction is at the center of why these negotiations are now threatening the league's very existence. This isn't about Caitlin Clark causing crisis. It's about Caitlin Clark unintentionally revealing one.
You guys are doing everything. You guys have gone so far to the point where you guys were mad that Angel Reese fans showed up to an Atlanta Dream game in Atlanta and was cheering for Angel Reese. Y'all got mad because, oh, you're cheering for an opposing player. They can pay and cheer for who they want to pay to cheer for. You guys, Kalia Copper got mad that Dewana Bonner scammed the Indiana Fever, took their money, quit, went to Phoenix. When she returned to Indiana to play against the Fever, they booed her. Kalia Copper called out the fans and said, oh, they have no right to boo her. What are you talking?
The illusion shattered the moment Caitlin Clark went down with an ankle injury during the playoffs. Almost immediately, the ratings collapsed. Not dipped, not declined, collapsed. The drop-off was dramatic enough that even league insiders couldn't ignore it. Games that had been drawing millions suddenly couldn't hold casual viewers. The momentum evaporated, and then came Unrivaled. Launched in January 2025 with massive hype, Unrivaled was supposed to be proof of concept. A new 3-on-3 league backed by elite players like Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier. A condensed, fast-paced format. Prime-time windows. A winter schedule with minimal basketball competition. It should have worked. Instead, the viewership numbers were brutal. Tens of thousands of viewers. Empty seats. Sparse engagement. In some cases, local high school games are drawing more people than Unrivaled's Miami Arena. From a negotiation standpoint, this was catastrophic, because players were walking into CBA talks armed with 2024 numbers that now looked increasingly like an anomaly rather than a trend. Owners weren't negotiating off hype. They were looking at the post-Clark data, and that data told a story nobody wanted to say out loud. The casual audience wasn't here for women's basketball as a product. They were here for Caitlin Clark. That doesn't invalidate the sport. It doesn't diminish the talent, but it does completely change the economics of what players can realistically demand. Because leverage only exists if the audience sticks around when the star leaves the screen. And they didn't.
That you said were horrible from the jump. The new fans want to stick around. The new fans who have never watched the WNBA were like, wow, I didn't realize there was so much drama in this. And again, this is no blame on one player. This is no blame on one person in this league, but there's just been too much. In the last 2 years, the WNBA and the WNBPA has done so much wrong. Like so much wrong, and it's just wild. So that's the last thing that I wanted to point out. Like I feel like the new WNBA fans